All right, so in seventh grade, we are going to take a test at the end of every chapter. And at the end of every chapter, after we take our test, we're going to do a little miniature lesson on statistics or probability. This is just to kind of get us to review some old ideas and introduce some new ideas before we hit chapter 9 and chapter 10 at the end of the book. So today's mini lesson is about measures of center. Measures of center you have heard of before. You may not have called them measures of center, but they are mean, median, and mode. Right? Remember them? Oftentimes, we also lump range in here with measures of center. We solve for the range as well, but really it would not be used as a measure of center like these three will be used. And we'll talk more about that in a later slide. So range is kind of part of this, kind of not. Let's practice solving for them. Let's go back here for a quick second. To find the mean. Mean is when we add together all of the numbers that are in the set and we divide by how many numbers there are. To find the median, we put the set in least to greatest order and find the middle number. If there are two middle numbers, we add them together and divide by 2. Last but not least, the mode is the most frequently used number in the set. So we see the number that shows up the most, and that's our mode. And range is the difference between the largest and the smallest numbers. So we take our largest number, subtract the smallest number, and that's the range. Okay, so let's get practicing here. Here's our first set of numbers: 18, 20, 14, 15, 25, 20, 18, 19, 10, and 5. You will notice that my numbers are not in order, right? To find the median, we want our numbers to be in order. Ordering them helps us to find the mode. It also helps us to find the range. So the first thing I'm going to recommend you do every time is to put those numbers in least to greatest order. Every time. So my red set is in order. Now we can find these 4 numbers in any order we want. I'm going to go with easiest first. I think that the mode is the easiest one to find. We look for the number that shows up the most often. So here we have 2 18s. We also have 2 20s. They're kind of tied for showing up the most often, so both of them get to be our modes. It is okay to have 2 modes in a set of data. Okay, we call that data bimodal, 2 modes. The next easiest one is the range, I think. The range is when we take our largest minus our smallest. 25 minus 5 is 20. And remember, the range only tells us the spread of the data, how far it is to get from the lowest point to the highest point. Our next easiest is the median. And a lot of students like to go and cross off the lowest and highest and lowest and highest and just keep going that way until they find the middle number, and that works perfectly fine. So if you like that method, you can certainly stick with it. I'm going to show you another way to do that, to do the median. Maybe you'll like that. It's a lot faster. First, you count up how many numbers are in your set. There are 10 here, and we want to find the middle of that set, so we're going to divide that number by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, so since this is a whole number, that tells me that if we count to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and draw a line, we'll have 5 numbers in the lower half of the set and 5 numbers in the upper half of the set. So that tells me there are 2 middle numbers. If we would get a decimal, we'll see how we deal with that differently in the next slide. But since we got a whole number, count up 5, draw a line between them, and those are my 2 middle numbers. Add them together. 18 plus 18 is 36. Divide that by 2, and you get 18. So that is my median, 18. Okay? Last but not least is the mean. Now when I do the mean, I'm going to allow you to use a calculator from time to time. This is one of the times I will let you use a calculator. First thing we're going to do is we are going to add together all of our numbers in this set. So that's 5 plus 10 plus 14 plus 15 plus 18 plus 18 plus 19 plus 20 plus 20 plus 25. Okay, now here's how I use a calculator. I get that number and then I write it down, right? I believe it was 164. Yep, 164. You do not want to use a calculator without using it wisely, without showing some work. Now I know that I'm going to take my total and I'm going to divide by how many numbers are in my set of data. So I'm going to divide that by 10. I know that dividing by 10 means I just move my decimal one place to the left. And that tells me that my mean is 16 4/10. We could have done long division as well. It would look like this, and you could long divide that. But if you know your rule for multiplying or dividing by 10, you just move that decimal and it's pretty quick. Okay, so that is the real quick review of mean, median, mode, and range. I have another example I'd like us to look at, a little bit different one here. Notice this time the numbers are already in least to greatest order. That's because I was feeling pretty nice. Remember, I think that it's easiest to find the mode first. That's the number that occurs the most often. We have 2 18s again. Oh, but we have 3 22s this time. So our mode will be 22, not 18. Okay, next I think the range is easiest to find, 72 minus 15. Borrow from the 7. 12 minus 5 is 7. 6 minus 1 is 5. So my range is 57. That's just a bigger number. Tells me my data is spread out a little bit more. Remember my shortcut to finding the median? Those of you that like to cross off high, low, high, low, high, low, that's fine. But my median trick is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We want to find the middle of that, so we divide by 2. 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. So see how this time we didn't get a whole number, we got a decimal. This is actually a lot easier. If we get a decimal, we just take it and we round that up to the next whole number, which is 6, and we count to the 6th digit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is our only middle number. That is our only median. Okay. Last but not least, we have our mean to find. Let me get my calculator out again. So we're going to take 15 plus 18 plus 18 plus 19 plus 21 plus 22 plus 22 plus 22 plus 23 plus 25 plus 72. And that gets us 277. And we are going to divide that by 11. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to get that calculator back out. I'm going to divide by 11, and that gets us 25 and 18 hundredths repeating. So 25.18181818. If I'm going to round to the hundredths place, that 1 tells me to keep it the same. So my mean is 25 and 18 hundredths. All right, one bonus word we're going to get from this set of data, and it's that guy right there. 72 is called an outlier. It's an outlier because it's way too big to fit in with the set of data. Outliers can be way too big or way too small, and outliers have an effect on the mean. Okay, so notice how our median and mode were real close here, but our mean is a little bit higher. And that's because of that 72 being in there. So, last thing we want to talk about is when to use each measure of center to describe a set. The purpose of finding a measure of center is to be able to describe a set using one number. And we want to be able to choose that best number. So, remember we talked about outliers. 72 was an outlier here, and that made our mean jump up and be a little bit higher. So since it has an effect on the mean, we only want to use the mean to describe a set of data that has no outliers. So that would be like our set here. Numbers, we really didn't have any outliers. They all kind of fit in together fine. So the best number to represent this set of data would actually be that mean of 16 4/10. Okay? When do we use the median? Well, we use the median when we do have outliers in the set because the median's more stable. It's not affected by an outlier. So, set 2 we had this outlier of 72, right? So because of that, we wouldn't want to use our mean, which means we would want to use the median to describe that set. And then we have the mode. The mode is really only used when the data is called categorical data. It's not number data. It's data like ice cream flavors, eye colors, or clothing brand. And modes are pretty much most useful in telling us what's most popular. All right, so review these, study these, and if you have any questions, ask them tomorrow in class.